Yeah, I think it was nice to start with like the brick making with Professor Totok and be on the land here, use the soil. Then we brought in the bricks and we were designing some things. But yeah, like I said before, I thought it was super practical all the time. And it was a bit, yeah, like there's not a lot of new things happening for us to learn, I think. Or like in a different way. I mean that when the temple idea came up, or like the fact that we should build a temple with the local builders here, I think that was like the one good opportunity to learn from each other and to have like something to hold on, like this temple idea. And I think then we really started to play with the bricks we had, like think about the size. There were a lot of like measurements we had to take into consideration, I guess, for the size of the temple. Especially with this human scale as well, like the 1 meter 80 or like these things and
The feet, the body.
yeah, you can explain it.
The feet on the body.
The construction of the temple, like how it's based on the human body.
I tried to do a good job of it because I think the truth would be able to explain us a lot better. And I mean, I can be brief about it because it kind of things like when we did come up and started the temple, we didn't know there's so much thought and cultural alignment connected with it. So to know that and to learn that while we were exploring the process of brick making and how joinery works with bricks and how patterns would work with brick, it's all kind of connected with the cultural ethos, which is kind of very interesting to understand and find out. So I think that was a great learning while making the temple.
Yeah, and then we learn about how this pedestal that supports the temple is kind of this feet that represent the feet of an elephant, which is like the strongest
Base.
Yeah, base. And then the body that represents an eagle, and on top kind of a throne, a head. That's when all the offerings go. And yeah, maybe there was also a temple here that we can see behind. Now it's maybe a bigger one, and we also are using the traditional brick making, maybe to do not only a temple but also the floor and a space for spirituality or for connection. And it's nice that this comes along with the Limasan as the maybe first buildings that are done here. So maybe that's also a nice way to connect with people. That was also an opportunity to connect with the people that have all the tradition of brick cutting and grinding them and shaping them to make all the interesting shapes you have in the design of a temple. That maybe that wasn't something that we could have done alone, because we have no idea how to design a temple, or what are all these considerations of shape, proportions, measures. So that was cool too, and it's also a nice way to release like our mind of designers trying to be the ones designing, because we really don't know the base of how to design a temple. So that's something that we need to kind of let go and just adjust to whatever they are saying.
What was nice about the building of the temple was also like when Andy Rahman came here, we really had a look at the site and how we could engage with nature. So even if this temple is like, okay, it has a feet, body, it had like, it's kind of structured. We started with the environment, right? Like, okay, how are you going to place this? How is it engaging with nature? And we started to build like from bottom to the top. And then it's also like the floor, of course. And like finding a good pattern for the floor, using the bricks.
I mean, it was interesting to kind of see that everything got subconsciously tied to our shared values, where we spoke about researching the brick, understanding the brick, and making the pattern. But then again, it started responding, like you said, to the context and to the cultural understanding of it and the spirituality. So it all kind of came together with the temple building, even though it kind of looked it's also an object in space. So, but at the same time, the object kind of makes the space. And in that manner, it kind of works better because we also started with the connection to the ground, and then we kind of moved upwards towards the sky.
Yeah.
And how that becomes in itself with like one brick module, which has a connection with another, and then how they come together to form the floor. But then what's the floor connection to the nature and the context was something that I found pretty exciting that we figured out together while we were figuring out the pattern, which was based on the mandala. And the
Yeah, maybe the floor pattern does have our signature kind of making our or
Well, that's
something of designers because
Yeah.
we didn't want to just to lay bricks down. So we have maybe the holes in the middle what would grass eventually can grow. We understand that the bricks are gonna be subject to mold eventually, and they will blend more with nature. That was something that Andy Rahman brought. And also maybe the starting point of the swastika, that maybe that's also interesting to maybe talk about it, but that implies also us doing research and learning about what's the reality of the symbol.
Yeah. And I don't think that would have been possible if we weren't exploring and experimenting with the floor pattern on site with the material, because there were instances when we were figuring out patterns back on the desk and where we were kind of sharing our thoughts, but we weren't really present within the context. But when we started making the floor pattern within the space itself and being connected to where we were building and constantly seeing that and going back and forth, we also kind of understood that really the pattern doesn't really need to be so solid. And the imperfection, because at first when we were making that pattern, it almost felt like the proportions are matching and the empty spaces are incomplete and we have to finish it. But at the same time, when we kind of looked back and we saw that there's a lot of green there and there's already a very prominent landscape being present, then why can't the pattern make space for it? So it kind of all kind of came together.
Instead of cutting bricks just to eventually have a square shape or everything filled. So maybe that was also the process of how can we make this without or cutting the less bricks or with cutting no bricks at all. And maybe you have the spaces in between. That's the only way you can do it without cutting bricks. Just leaving some space in between.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about building the temple itself? Because we spent quite some time like trying this things, building the square and like see if we can bring layers with patterns and I don't know. We worked a lot on it, and what's our conclusion? Like, what did we learn from it?
I think it's, at least for what I got from it, is that there are some things best left to people who are actually practicing and celebrating that space, because us not being so connected and the time we had to understand it, perhaps if we had spent another month just understanding how the space is used, then perhaps we would have done some justice to the temple building. But I'm kind of glad that the locals helped us create a vision for it and create a shape and a design that actually connects with their own understanding of what they practice. Because it would have almost felt ignorant of us to kind of build something that looks aesthetically great, but then it doesn't fall within the proportions or the understanding of the foot and the head and the body.
Yeah, maybe I don't care that much about the designs. He draws the temple and what's the proportion, what's the exact shaping of a brick. But I care more that there's a temple built or that's going to be finished in these days, and that's also respectful to the community to know that, okay, here they have a common space. You have the temple that's also part of the basic things that you need to create infrastructure, because every house has a temple, every building has a temple space. So just having it and having the process of building with them and letting people do what they know best, I think that's good enough for me as a starting point. But I think we also had the chance to shape bricks, to try proportions, to ask questions, to learn a little bit about the process, or just being helping here, whether bringing gravel, bringing sand, and laying bricks, one on top of the other. It's just another way to learn about the material, learn about how they are making it. So we still have now a temple built with no mortar in between the bricks, which was kind of our question during the month. How are they making this? We are so used to one type of brick making, and now maybe we have a lot more information about how you can manage to do something without the mortar in between, and that's good too. And maybe that's even better than saying, yeah, we did this. I did the design of the temple, and now it's there as I wanted it to be.
No, it was.
And you had the chance also to work with your shaping.
Yeah, in the end, it was a real collaboration, like in all different aspects. And I was like, okay, I have diamond-shaped bricks, and there was an idea like, can we place one in the temple, right? But it's a little bit. I didn't feel like it was my place to go and put like my brick there, you know. Feels a little bit weird. So it was nice to talk about it with everyone, and to think of this idea. Okay, what if we start building with this diamond shape, and then maybe it shouldn't be like a real diamond or baguette shaped cut, but it could be something symmetrical, and still you have facets, so it gives the impression that there's something happening, right? And you can recognize a gemstone in the stone. So I thought that was a nice idea to like rework the thing and try to place it there. But then you place it there, and the next day we come here, and there's like new stones in new shapes. And at first I thought it would like replace the stones I put there. And then when we were talking with them, like with Andy, because it was nice to have the architect in house, but he also had the language,
someone
right?
translating us.
Yeah, so it was the bridge between. So he gave the little push, like place your stone there, and then the next morning, apparently they were like continuing to build on it and like use the design to create like new shapes and develop the temple. So that was cool.